Hey, what's up guys? Eric Thane here from Cinema Mastery, and today we're jumping into another lighting breakdown. Let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be breaking down a video that I shot with a friend and client of mine, Jake McGhee, who's the director and DP of this commercial. I had the opportunity to go out and work with Jake on set since he's one of our Cinema Masters and crew members. He actually had me come out and work with him on set and help him out on this project, which was a lot of fun. So I didn't actually shoot or direct this. That was all Jake, but I was there just kind of helping out on set, and really I ended up kind of working as the gaffer and the main lighting tech on this shoot, and just figuring out all the lighting setups and everything, which is why I can jump in here and tell you exactly what we did with the lighting and how we got it all done. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. So if we scroll through the video here, you can see that we've got a boxing scene here. We've got a little library bookstore scene. We've got a few different characters. They're all kind of doing their thing. And it's a commercial for Spotify. So they're all people just kind of showing how they use Spotify for their individual creative talents. And so that's kind of the commercial there. Now, we used a lot of haze on this commercial shoot, and I want to talk a little bit about the haze that we used and how we lit a few of these scenes and using the haze. So the first one we're going to start with is this first boxing scene right here. So if you kind of look at this scene, you'll be able to see that how we have this set up is a pretty simple setup, honestly. So we've got our main key light kind of happening up here. This is a aperture 120D and the Light Dome Mini. So if you guys are familiar with the Light Dome, it's what I'm using right now to light me. It's a big softbox. It gives you a really nice soft source. Well, in this case, we just wanted a light kind of coming down from above, almost like what you would see in a boxing ring, just like that single light and kind of like a dingy boxing gym, just kind of coming down on your talent. And so we had that up there. It's blacked out on the sides, so we're not getting too much spill into the rest of the room, and we're just getting this really cool beam of light coming down. So that's a Light Dome Mini, which is a little bit smaller. That's our main daylight source coming down. Now you notice there's also two other light sources here. So that's our main key light coming down there. We've got another light source over here. You can see a little haze there, and there's another one over here. You can see that little haze. What we had is basically two quasar tubes up against the walls, and so what we're doing is we've got them up on C-stands like this, and just kind of up there shining against the wall to give us a little bit more atmosphere in the room and just kind of open things up a little bit so that it's not quite so dark. And then same thing happening over here. In fact, if we move forward a little bit on the video, you'll be able to see that at the beginning here we have the lights actually turn on in the location, so that it's the beginning of the video, and that light that's turning on is actually the aperture light. And so what happens is, what this does is so that when those lights are off, that main light is off, we still get a little bit of light here. You can kind of see this pole right here. You can see a few elements in the boxing ring, and you can see this light here. So everything's not just totally black. When we have the lights off, you can still see a little bit, and then when we turn that one aperture light on, that's when you get that main light. And that I'm doing, by the way, just with one of these aperture remotes. If you're familiar with aperture lights, you just take the remote and you connect it and you hit the button and the light turns on. So that's basically what we're doing. Okay. Now as we move on here, you'll be able to see our talent kind of walking up the ring towards that light. Same exact thing going on there. And then same thing going on here. You can see all of the lights kind of happening in the scene. In fact, if you look really closely at this scene, you'll notice that it's pretty dim here, but if you look closely, there's kind of a black pole there. That is actually the C-stand that is holding the light. So you can see the C-stand in the shot. Typical of me, right? But in a situation like this, it's not really causing too many problems, just because it's just kind of in the background in the shadows. And in such a dark industrial looking place like this, nobody's going to notice that. So not a problem. All right, so that's that scene. If we kind of go forward a little bit, let me find another shot. This is kind of the same thing happening here. You can see how that light is playing on our talent here. So we're getting, let's just find a frame here. That's not good. Let's go like that. So you can see how that light from above is just kind of like playing on our talent here and giving us a nice, almost like reverse keyed look. It's not really reverse keyed, it's just top light, right? And so we're getting really good light, really good shadows on him in here. And then same thing on this guy. We've got, nice light happening on his shoulders and his muscles there, and then nice shadow happening down below. And so we're getting that three-dimensionality, that shape to the lighting just by having it being top down like that. And it's, it's soft enough, it makes sense for the environment. And that's one of the things I think about often when I'm shooting scenes like this. A lot of times I'm lighting the environment more so than I'm lighting the talent. I'm creating lighting that makes sense in the space and then making it look flattering by softening it and adding in haze and things like that in order to make it really soft. And so you'll notice that there's a lot of haze in the room. We had this entire boxing gym just completely pumped full of haze, and that's allowing us to get just this really nice soft light that's kind of moving all over the place. It's making it feel less hard and harsh on the talent and just a little bit softer and more flattering. Okay, so moving forward, we've got another shot of this. Same thing happening here. Let's see, I'm going to find another one. Okay, so right here you can see a little bit more of what's actually going on in the background since this is now a reverse shot. So you'll notice that up here on the top right, you can see the glow from that first quasar up there. And then there's another one back here, and now you can kind of see what's kind of going on. So you can see the C-stand there, and then the quasar across, which is giving us this nice light on the wall here, and also just kind of like filling in the room with a little bit more light for our wide shots, like I was explaining earlier. Okay, so that's that for the boxing scene. Now let's move on to the next one, which is going to be this bookstore. And we did quite a few things here and a few different scenes in this bookstore. And the idea was that we had this girl who works at the bookstore, and then after hours, she starts dancing and just kind of like expressing her creative side while listening to Spotify. And so we had this scene first where she's kind of just putting some books away and she's working. And I thought this turned out really beautifully. So what we're doing here, if I can get the frame right, there we go, is we've got here we're using the Aperture 120D again. This time with, I believe this was the large, the regular size light dome. And that's actually, you can probably guess, right up here above her in the background. So what we did is, you'll notice that she's kind of between two bookshelves. And what we did is we hid the C-stand behind this bookshelf. So if you can imagine, on the other side of this bookshelf, there's this C-stand that's out there and then has this boom arm coming across, and then the light dome on top of it. So we had lots of sandbags on it, making sure that it's not tipping over and just being careful with that. And then it's basically just right up here, we've got that light dome there, lighting, kind of backlighting our subject. Now you can obviously see where this is kind of playing on her head there. You can see a lot of it kind of wrapping over her shoulder, over this arm, giving us this really nice soft light coming around there. And it's a really, really pretty look. Now, same as we did with the boxing scene, we also put a lot of haze into the scene to help soften that light, to create that kind of like smoky, just like old bookstore type vibe, which I think is working really well in this video. And so you can see a lot of this kind of haze happening from the light. All of that is happening from having so much haze in the room and just creating that look. Now, if we move forward from there, you'll be able to see a close-up of the exact same thing, really pretty, and then same thing. So now let's move forward. Let's find the next shot of that scene. This is the same one. There's not a lot to talk about here, except that we've got a main key light on our subject here. All of the lights are on. You can still see in the background in this bookstore. Okay, so you can see those around there, a little bokeh. And then you can see the light actually hitting these books right here. That is our key light, which is over here just off frame, which is again that Aperture 120D with a light dome on it. That's what's lighting up our subject here and giving us this really nice soft light on her. And then of course we have the open sign, which is just a practical, right? Moving on from there, we go in for a little close-up on her. You can see a little bit more of what that light is doing on her face and how it's giving us that nice soft light. You can also see, like right here in her eye, there's this nice catch light that again is coming from that aperture light right there. Okay, moving on, we have a few, this is the same thing happening. We just got a few like close-up shots of her kind of getting ready to start dancing. And then we move to the actual dance scenes. So, okay, so this one's really cool. All right, so this is one that we set up right in front of this really cool wall of books. And they've got this really cool couch and these lamps and everything. It was just such a cool scene. I was like, oh, we have to shoot something here. And so when we set up this scene, Same thing, lots of haze to soften up the light, make it feel really nice. And then what we've got going on here is above her, we actually have a quasar tube up there. And you'll notice there's no C-stand or anything in the shot. The quasar is actually sitting up on top of this bookshelf. So it's giving us that light just kind of coming down on her. And then you'll notice how the light is really central to the middle of the scene, which is drawing your attention towards her, and then it kind of fades out and gets darker as you get off the edges. So what we're doing there is we actually use some, I can't remember exactly what we used, but I think we used some like either some paper or some gaff tape to like flag off the edges of the quasar so that we wouldn't get so much spill over here onto the sides, and we could allow the light to focus in on her right there. And then that helped with some of it, and then I'm pretty sure we did some of that also in color grading, just kind of added a vignette there to help kind of focus the light, which is giving that really cool look. And so we've got this quasar, which would normally be like a little bit hard-ish light, but since we have so much haze in the room, we're softening it, we're kind of moving it all around. You notice that it's kind of coming in on top of her as well, and then hitting this couch, which is really beautiful. And then we just have these two lamps that actually have black lampshades, so you can't see them very well, but those two lamps are on as well to give us a little bit more like practical lights and some interest in the scene. Okay, so from here we've got another shot of the same thing of her feet, and then one more scene of her dancing. This is the exact same thing happening. Lots of haze. We've got a light in here. I don't remember if this was the quasar or the aperture, but it wouldn't really matter either way. We've got light coming out of this doorway and into her. I love working with doorways and having light coming through doorways, just because it feels really natural and it just creates this really cool like focused light on your talent. So we're getting this nice light happening on her, and then you can also see it over on these books over here. That's just that light coming out of that doorway into this hazy room that looks really nice. Okay, so I think that's all for the dance scene. The last scene that I wanted to look at is this bedroom scene with our boxer. And you notice he's kind of walking into his bedroom. It's nice and dark and moody, putting his backpack down, and then he kind of just sits down on his bed. So what's happening here is a lot of the same thing. So for one, lots of haze in the room. You can feel the haziness of it. Again, going for that kind of like dingy type of feel. Even in his bedroom, we're just kind of going for that like gritty kind of feel to the video. And so that's working really well there. We've got haze in the room, and then we've got this practical light. This is just a lamp. We put a color accurate lamp bulb in it. I believe it was it wasn't the Kino Flow. I think we just used an incandescent light bulb. So if you get just a regular incandescent light bulb with the filament in it, you get a really nice color accurate light. And so we put that inside of this bulb, and then we've got that on a dimmer in order to be able to dim it down to the level. You don't want your lamps to be blowing out. You just want them to be dimmed down so that they just look nice in the background like that. Okay, so that's looking really nice. And then you'll notice that we've got a little bit of key on our talent here, and then also this kind of effect happening on the wall there. Right there and right here, that is coming from our window. So outside the window, we had our aperture, probably not a 120D. I believe this was a 300D at this point because we needed it to be bright enough, just blasting through the window. And then there's blinds on the window that are creating this effect for us right there. So we have the blinds set to where we want them. We've got the light kind of coming through the window. That is motivating some sunlight coming through because of an overcast day, so we weren't getting like full sunlight coming in. And then because, again, it's like normally this would be like really hard, and you'll notice that it is kind of hard here coming through the blinds, but there's a softness to that edge. But if you notice, the light on our talent here is not real hard. It's actually pretty soft, or has that little bit of soft edge to it. Again, that's just because of the haze in the room. So we've really filled this room with haze. What's happening is that light is coming into the room. It's hitting like all the particles of haze in the air, and then it scatters the light so that you get kind of a softer look even from a hard source coming out from the window. So that's what's happening here. That's kind of our main key light on our subject there. We have the practical in the background, and then again, tons of haze in order to soften up the light and create the vibe. So there you go. There's a quick breakdown of this commercial and the lighting and how we used haze to soften the light and make things look really nice. If you want to learn more about lighting and become a master at lighting your scenes, no matter what scene you go into, knowing how to start from scratch and follow a specific framework or formula to light your scenes, I want to invite you to check out my Lighting Secrets course, which is linked down in the description below. It's an amazing course that'll walk you through exactly my entire formula for how I approach lighting any scene, how I go about it so that I can get really cool cinematic looks out of my images. Even if you don't have really expensive camera gear or really expensive lights, it really all comes down to the principles of lighting and understanding the theory and how to approach lighting the scene in order to make things look good. So check that out down below. It's in the description. And if you have any questions about this video, feel free to comment them down below. I'll take a look at those, and we'll see you on the next video.